You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer reporter.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters. It is, oh my God, it's my birthday month, September 1st. And we are here live from the Legacy420.com news desk. And Glenn and I today are going to be bringing you your global Reefer report here on Pace Radio Network. Morning, Glenn.
Good morning. What a great smile you have this morning.
Yeah, I'm getting ready. Of course, it's my birthday month. I mean, why not be happy, right?
Yeah.
But of course, on the 7th, 6 days from now, I hop in my car and head out to visit a bunch of friends in Ontario. So this time next week, I will be somewhere in Quebec in the back of my car doing this.
In the back of the car, you're going to do it on the road.
Yeah. See,
I did it from a hotel room once.
Yeah, if I can prepare everything at the hotel the night before and hop in the car about 8 o'clock and go, I'll stop about quarter to 11 and quarter to 10. It'll be there. And off we'll go. And I think it'll be fun having whatever behind me in Quebec, right?
Cool. I can't wait.
Yeah, that should be a ton of fun. And you've got to literally have a showing going on right now?
I have a showing going on right now. I don't know how long it's going to take. Some people just came down here, but I guess there's two groups going through. So I don't know if that was the both groups or if that was part or one group. So we're going to find out.
So we may end up with this. We may end up with a surprise at some point in time during the show on
Wednesday. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here at paceradio.net. So we have 10 stories for everybody. So we might as well get right to it. What? Sure. Okay, I'm clicking buttons and then I'm getting over to click the other button, and we're going over to StratCan first thing this morning. The cannabis industry's role in Canada's waste crisis.
Nearly 70 years after plastic was invented, 8.3 billion tons of it have been produced. Today, Canada produces over 3 million tons of plastic waste yearly, and less than 10% of this waste is recycled. During the first year of recreational cannabis legalization, thousands of tons of plastic garbage were generated, and over 6 million kilograms of cannabis packaging accumulated in landfills. Our ecological crisis is, in part, a consequence of single-use plastics, though it is important to understand that this is not exclusive to the cannabis industry. Any sector producing single-use plastics can be deemed a contributor to the issue we face today.
Oh, yeah, no, the plastics with cannabis is absolutely horrible. Excuse me, legal cannabis. Both of us are coughing here. Look.
Yeah, not just plastic. I find the cannabis MB is selling grams in glass bottles.
Oh my God!
They have a plastic lid and the great big glass bottles. That can't be very good for the.
No, I mean, like I haven't. I do go and support some friends, licensed producers, like friends who either they're either the master grower or they own. And so I've bought a few things over the time from the indigenous LPs here in Nova Scotia, and I used to have friends that worked at the Truro cannabis, and most of that is in plastic, but it's a lot of plastic.
It is.
It is like the Truro cannabis though, they use tuna cans, and I find that's a little bit more efficient than the plastic bottle that is has the plastic covering and the plastic coating in a box that's covered in plastic. I mean, it's just absolutely insane, right?
These tuna cans, do they have a lid? Are they sealed? How does that work?
Yeah, it's like a tuna can. So like there's a plastic lid that goes on. Like you see some of the gray market area selling them. It's just a tuna can that has the kind of like the pullback top, like the one that you push up the little tab, tear it back, throw it away. You put the lid on. So it's just like a tuna can, like literally like a tuna can, and it keeps everything nice and fresh. And I find that's like it's probably the easiest to recycle.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's just plastic bags. Where I buy my cannabis, it's plastic bags.
Yeah, I mean, like I do gray market now, and it's all those skunk sacks, so all of those anti-stink sacks. I mean,
Yeah.
which is just, again, I mean, a higher quality plastic Ziploc bag, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So a study conducted in 2020 at the University of McGill and sponsored by Health Canada stated that Canada produces over 3 million tons of plastic waste yearly. In addition, 86% ends up in a landfill, and 1%, or approximately 30,000 tons, is leaked into the environment. Wow. The cannabis industry must take responsibility for its plastic production and look at the established sustainability experts for new ways to reduce the sector's ecological impact. Packaging concerns since day one, and it has been, like you say, glass and the plastic down here is gross. For the first few years of legalization, it seemed as if the industry was dominated by Mylar bags and single-use jars. In a CBC interview that gained significant traction during this time, Remy Robichaud from Moncton spoke about his experience evaluating the amount of plastic used in packaging cannabis products. He found that for every gram purchased of legal cannabis, there were 70 grams worth of plastic. Holy F-U-C-K.
That surprised me.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's gross. Like, that's, oh, wow. Like, you know what? They could switch to hemp plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
well,
many, like, yeah. And because it'll dissolve, it'll disintegrate, right?
I'm just amazed by this 70 grams to 1.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I haven't weighed anything, but that seems about right to me.
It could be, but I never thought it in those terms. 70 to 1 is amazing.
What about the glass jars that New Brunswick Cannabis is using? That's even more.
Way more.
Yeah.
It feels like a quarter pound jar to hold a gram.
Yep. Like many other cannabis industry workers and consumers, Robichaud shared his deep concern about how this baffling comparison affects our environment and oceans. Yeah, and like you and I are sitting here with our jaws on the floor. Like, what? Yeah.
Dangers of consumer error. Mike Unterman, a circular economy pioneer in the cannabis industry, recently stated in an interview that most packaging marked as recyclable or biodegradable ends up in landfills due to user error. Uderman explained, when compostable plastics end up in landfill, they actually produce 8 times more methane than traditional plastics, which makes the greenhouse gas problem worse. The Ministry of Hemp also spoke to the concern of user error, stating, unfortunately, even plastic that's deliberately designed to be biodegradable can still be a source of pollution. Almost nothing biodegrades in a landfill, and hemp microplastics could still cause problems when introduced to the oceans. Biodegradable plastics need to be sent to commercial composting facilities for efficient disposal, and these facilities aren't available to everyone. Yeah. One of the most prominent discussions in the cannabis industry concerning recycling or biodegradable products revolves around the high costs of programs and accessibility to packaging. That being said, it's time we start putting pressure on the retailers selling products to educate and provide consumers on where, how, and why they can reduce the margin of error.
Absolutely. There are, I was reading a story last year when, on Reefer Reporters, and I can't remember exactly when, but we were talking about a program that they had going in parts of Ontario and parts of BC, where if you brought your empty containers back to whatever dispensary, they would give you, 1 to 20 cents, not back,
like a deposit,
as a credit that you could use towards your next purchase. And I think that's a wonderful way to work, because, like, I mean, what cannabis user doesn't want a break on the price?
I think most people do, and I think most people want to do what's best for everything. It's best for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Is hemp plastic worth the hype? Despite the prohibition, hemp has historically drawn a lot of interest due to its versatility. For example, hemp plastic is 2.5 times stiffer than traditional fossil fuel derived plastics, non-toxic, and flexible enough to be molded into durable forms. As a result, it could reduce virgin plastic and low recyclability packaging waste while reducing current disposal costs and stimulating job creation. In addition, hemp stalks and stems can be transformed into biodegradable hemp plastic, which requires 22 to 45% less energy than plastics made from non-renewable energy sources. It's understandable that hemp may seem like a great option given its sustainable implications. However, it takes further investigation to understand the reality of applications for cannabis packaging. Hmm.
And Cody Ziering, who's the co-founder of the cannabis packaging company Packcase, commented on the sustainability factors of hemp plastic in an interview in 2020 with the Digital Journal. This article states that genuine hemp plastic has a shelf life of around 3 to 6 months, which is suitable for packaging that can be composted. However, it is not the best material for long-term cannabis storage. Therefore, a propylene blend is used to make the majority of hemp plastic items. As a result, the possibility of recycling hemp plastics decreases, and this combination eliminates its capacity to decompose. Ziering said many hemp-based plastics are actually petroleum-based products because of their plastic content and chemical makeup. Hemp plastics are often unable to be composted or recycled. Hemp plastic can only be recycled if it's strictly hemp and is biodegradable in an industrial composting facility. It cannot be added to your outdoor composting bin. Surprising.
Yeah, and I first time I've heard that. I find it quite interesting.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah, hemp packaging. Cannabis producers may have to amend the industrial hemp regulations to use hemp byproducts for packaging, and financial incentives may be required to encourage hemp plastic cultivation. Factors that can also play into challenges when producing hemp include energy sources for production and the likelihood of user error. Sustainable applications and actions. The culprit for the cannabis industry's waste issue isn't simply the fault of single-use plastics and user error. There are always further intricacies at play. For example, excise stamps and labels are also unforgiving to the environment, considering chemicals used in the adhesives. The McGill study presented potential strategies for waste reduction in the cannabis industry in 3 sections. Producers, mandate all white plastic, packaging standardization, extend producer responsibility, hemp plastic innovation fund.
And consumers, in-store consignment and recycling, and C, regulatory. Remove child resistance from non-psychoactive THCA products. Harmonized excise stamps, bulk cannabis sales. Sustainability champions. Improving packaging concerns for cannabis is not without its challenges when considering accessibility, cost, and ecological impact through production. However, as 2022 continues, more government groups, licensed producers, and packaging companies have begun prioritizing sustainability. The province of BC dedicated about nearly 10 million to fund projects that reduce the use of new plastics, prioritize the reuse of plastics, and increase the use of post-consumer recycled plastic. Pascon Plastics, the sole packaging provider for Lush, received funding from the Clean BC Plastics Action Fund to create the first child-safe cannabis container made from 100% recycled plastics. Licensed producers utilizing environmentally friendly packaging include Wild, Stewart Farms, TGOD, and Cake and Caviar, to name a few. Whether these groups are working in light of the McGill study is undetermined. What is known is action has begun to reduce carbon footprints, single-use waste, and user error and traction to follow suit isn't slowing down anytime soon.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, learn something new again every single show.
Absolutely. I find it interesting that apparently hemp plastic isn't as biodegradable as we had hoped.
I had never heard that, and I wonder if it has something to do with we don't want our packaging to biodegrade while our product is in the packaging. And it said it has a shelf life of 3 to 6 months, which is not really compatible.
Yeah, they're saying that we can't throw it out put it out with our normal recycling, and that it's going to cause issues breaking down, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think I necessarily believe that.
Well, they say it's because they're using so much plastic in the hemp plastic. And I'm not talking, I'm oil-based plastics mixed with the hemp to create that bag that's not going to decompose in 3 to 6 months.
Decompose in 3 to 6 months, yeah.
Yeah. You know, you don't want to be walking around with a bag that's 3 months old and all of a sudden your cannabis is falling out of it, because I'm not sure if that happens, but, you know.
No, and it's also, too, I mean, stuff that's on the shelf and sitting there and waiting, you want to make sure that it's going to stay there and be ready for sale versus having to, I guess, repackage it if the packaging starts to come apart.
I wasn't thinking mostly of packaged cannabis lasting 3 months. I was thinking of the packages themselves.
Yeah,
so if
same.
you buy the hemp bags and then 3 months later you package the cannabis in it, is the cannabis going to, is the bag going to start decomposing on you? That's where my thinking went.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to package cannabis and leave it for 3 months on the shelf, you know?
Yes, they are.
Well, let's hope they're not. I'm sure
Okay,
it
so
happened.
the first cannabis I bought from in here in Nova Scotia, the liquor store, I bought it. I don't know. It took me about 3 months after legalization. It had been packaged 2 years before that. So yes, they are.
Smokes. Wow. That must have been some quality stuff.
Dry as all get out. It was gross. But yeah, like I mean, like sadly, especially in the beginning, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was packaged, months to years ahead of it being on a shelf and sold to a consumer. Like there was a lot of stuff and a lot of complaints. There's still some dry stuff now, but there was a lot of complaints of people buying cannabis back then. And they bought a gram and they got a 0.8. And that's because it was packaged as a gram, but it's since then dried out after sitting there for 2 years. And now, of course, it's a 0.8 because it lost, 2 points in drying. It was a hard time. I don't know how long it ends up packaged for now. I haven't actually researched that in a while. But yeah,
we did a couple of stories where they're throwing away more than they're keeping. So I'm assuming that's for shelf life reasons.
Oh, like they get to a point that they can't keep it. So obviously something has changed from the beginning to now, which is good. Because like I said, a lot of that stuff that was packaged, pushing 2 years ahead of buying it on the shelves at the beginning of legalization, because it was really dry and it was really gross and it turned a lot of people off. And, they've had to work hard to regain trust because a lot of people that, a lot of the gray market area people that went and tried it were kind of like,
I never, ever think of going to Cannabis New Brunswick. Not ever.
No.
I went there 4 times, never bought anything ever there. I just have no desire to be in the store, and the selection sucks. Sorry.
Yeah, and if you're getting what you need elsewhere and it's less expensive and better and blah blah, why would you go there and pay more money for it, right? Why would you pay all of that extra money? So, I mean, I completely get that. I go and I purchase some stuff just because, like I say, I want to support my friends. It's supporting a friends the same reason why I. There's some stuff on the gray market that I buy. I mean, like I can make a lot of my own edibles, but I've got a lot of friends that make it and they do a really great job and I want to support my friends. Right. So
and that's another reason I don't go to Cannabis New Brunswick because I'm Métis and I like to support the natives. I like the reserve shops. I like the people there. So I have no problem supporting them.
Yep. I mean, as you noticed earlier, I go and support, there's a few Indigenous owned licensed producers here in Nova Scotia. And that's who I've gone to support. Yeah. And their stuff is heads and tails above what I purchased in the first 6 months of legalization, head and tails. So it's really nice to see that. But we could sit here and we could talk about this for hours. So let's make Al happy and go on to the next story. We're heading over to MSN. Aurora Cannabis just made an unusual move, but is it a buy?
Aurora Cannabis rocked the boat on August 25th when it announced that it had acquired a 50.1% stake in Bayo Agtech, a provider of vegetables, flower, and houseplants. The unusual deal cost a Canadian cannabis cultivator 45 million Canadian dollars upfront, and it's also on the hook for Canadian 12 million in milestone payments over the next 3 years, assuming Bevo continues to grow as planned. Now, investors are debating whether the transaction changes much of anything for Aurora stock over the next few years. Can Bevo help to transform Aurora into the more profitable version of itself that it envisions, or is it a case of diversification rather than fruit for diversification?
I had to read that 4 or 5 times in my brain before I got it. That's for sure.
That's a great word, diversification.
Yeah. Why getting into floristry might be a good idea, as if they're not already florists. To set the stage for the deal, let's take a moment to recap Aurora's recent history. The last 3 years have been brutal for the cannabis grower, with its shares falling by more than 97%, quarterly revenue crashing by 28.6%, and its gross margin sharply deteriorating. The biggest cause of this abysmal performance was building too much manufacturing and cultivation capacity relative to demand in the Canadian recreational cannabis market. While going big on production, on producing cannabis, let's start this one again, Cindy. While going big on producing cannabis allowed it to capture the leading position by revenue in the Canadian medicinal market, as well as dominate positions in specific segments of international markets, as in Poland, its overhead costs forced it to close numerous facilities to stop burning so much cash. Management's transformation plan for the business is ongoing and calls for it to reach positive adjusted earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization in the first 2 quarters of 2023. Management also claims that the Bevo purchase will help achieve that goal.
And from the second quarter of 2020 to quarter 2 this year, Bevo reported sales of Canada 39 million and adjusted EBITDA of Canada 9 million. That Canadian 9 million will indeed inch or closer to a positive adjusted EBITDA, and by quite a bit. In its physical quarter 3, which is its most recent quarter, the cultivator reported an adjusted EBITDA loss of Canadian 12.3 million. So if it can maintain that performance with the addition of Bevo, it'll be within striking distance of breaking even and potentially reach positivity within a quarter or 2, just as planned. Because Bevo agreed to purchase one of Aurora's cultivation facilities in Edmonton as part of the deal, it's even plausible that the company's expenditures on overhead will be more efficient use. But that doesn't necessarily make the stock worth buying for most investors.
Is it best to watch this one play out from afar? One trouble with the Bevo acquisition is that it doesn't necessarily add much to Aurora's core capabilities. Management claims that the purchase may have the potential to drive long-term value to Aurora's existing cannabis business via the application of Bevo's industry-leading plant propagation expertise, which isn't exactly the most committed stance on whether there are genuine synergies to take advantage of. And while it's true that Bevo's earnings mean that the transaction is accretive, there's still the possibility of the company losing its ground and becoming a liability. It's hard to imagine much of a boom in the market for vegetables or decorative flowers, but it's easy to see how a recession could force consumers to cut spending on pretty plants or beds of grass for the yard. But I don't think that's going to cut spending on vegetables and food.
I was just going to say that you still need your vegetables. So I think this Bevo sounds like a good deal to me. Then there's the elephant in the room. The Canadian cannabis market is struggling with an overabundance of products. Nothing Aurora does, aside from continuing to scale down, can change that. Last year, cultivators were forced to destroy 26% of the country's annual production, accounting for 425 million grams of unpackaged and unsold product. That's not a market environment that most investors find thrilling. Therefore, it's best to avoid buying shares of Aurora for now. If its net profit margin, a metric that the business hasn't set a target for, starts to improve, it'll be a sign that conditions have improved significantly and could continue to improve more. Until then, steer clear.
Steer clear. So they're going into the vegetable and flower business.
I always think it's great to diversify. I think the vegetable and flower business sounds like a perfect thing for a cannabis cultivator to be going into. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
I think they'll do well. Okay, just clicking buttons over here. Oh my goodness, my throat has been dry today. We are heading over to MJ Biz Daily. The BC strike undermines struggling cannabis sector, business group says.
The Cannabis Council of Canada Business Group wants the province of British Columbia to come up with a contingency plan to safeguard the supply of legal cannabis in the province, as an ongoing strike at the province's monopoly wholesaler leaves some stores with nothing to sell. In mid-August, BC's monopoly cannabis distributor said its warehouse shut down as a result of a job action by employees represented by the BC General Employees Union. As a result, stores haven't been able to get products to sell and have sent employees home. The result of the strike on the cannabis industry has been a disrupted supply chain with no shipments in or out of distribution centers, resulting in the halt of cannabis products from licensed producers and processors to retail stores and consumers, according to the Cannabis Council of Canada's statement in a news release. What about the patients?
Yeah.
Seem to get lost in this story here.
We've been lost. Yeah, we've been lost since legalization.
I think so.
Right.
Yes.
The business group warns that diminishing supply of cannabis at the retail level has prompted consumers to return to the illicit market. Ontario and Quebec have also experienced major service disruptions caused by other factors. The job action in BC, along with the current strike in Quebec and the recent supply disruption in Ontario, shines a spotlight on the ineffectiveness and adverse consequences of provincial monopolies on cannabis distribution and the shortcoming of the federal government's governance of legal cannabis, says George Smitherin, CEO of the Cannabis Council of Canada. We urge the BC government to work with licensed cannabis producers and processors to execute a contingency plan solution before the public health and safety gains of legalization evaporate and the livelihoods of thousands of British Columbians working in the legal cannabis sector are irreparably damaged. Without an urgent contingent... Sorry,
I'm going to step out for a second here. I have some people coming into the room right now.
Okay. No worries. Without an urgent contingency supply plan, hundreds of retailers could close, imperiling the province's legal cannabis producers and retailers, as well as putting thousands of jobs at risk, the group said. As a BC-based licensed producer of cannabis, we could lose everything we've worked so hard to achieve in the province's cannabis legalization if government doesn't act now, BC headquartered Pure Sun Farm CEO Mandish said in the release. We have deep supply chain expertise and would welcome the opportunity to have a conversation with the government about re-establishing a safe supply quickly to market while respecting workers' right to strike. Yeah, it's been hard in the few provinces where Glenn will be back in a moment. It's been hard in the provinces that are going through this. It's, I'm, as much as I don't like the liquor store model we have here in Nova Scotia, it seems to be a pretty safe one as far as the ability that, they keep their employees pretty well looked after. It's the same set of employees. It's the same distribution as well. Like the liquor and the cannabis are kind of right beside each other as far as that goes. And I see Glenn is returning.
Hi,
sorry. Welcome back. No worries at all. We just finished that story, and I've got the next one coming up here in just a moment. I was just making a comment about how, as much as I hate the liquor store model here in Nova Scotia for cannabis, at least the warehouses are governed the same. They're governed underneath like the same. You got one boss leading to two bosses leading to, knock on wood, that gives the patients that rely on the liquor store model here in Nova Scotia a little bit more footing in knowing that they're going to be able to get their cannabis with fingers crossed. I feel very bad for the patients that are in Quebec and British Columbia, and Ontario seems, I think that it's a past issue, but still like they had a hard moment there as well.
Yes, I'm sure it's going to come back when you have a single-use supplier or single supplier. It affects everything. I don't think any business should be run like that. Imagine Amazon with one warehouse in North America. See what would happen.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
Yeah.
It would be terrible. On to Mugglehead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just counting how many stories we have left. On to Mugglehead magazine. Are rare cannabinoids, CBG and CBN, the next sleep aids?
With more people losing their sleep, more companies are tuning their eyes to sleeping technology and a new generation of supplements and edibles to help people with sleeping problems. According to the Sleep Foundation, 80% of people taking supplements or prescription medications for sleeping experience residual effects, such as feeling groggy, lack of concentration, and oversleeping the next day. Some of the most popular over-the-counter sleeping supplements include melatonin, valerian root, GABA, lavender products, and CBD oil. However, most of these still lack evidence in clinical research testing their efficacy as a sleep aid.
Yeah. In recent years, people have started to look at other cannabis-derived molecules besides CBD as sleeping aids, as more wellness products are highlighted in the relaxing and sleep-inducing properties of rare cannabinoids such as CBN and CBG. We were chatting earlier about this story when we were setting up the order. And CBN, I have learned over the past year and a half, CBN is created by, you can get it in your old cannabis. Your THC will degrade and form CBN. So even your sativas will become an amazing sleep aid, because CBN is, I don't know what the actual long name of it is, but to me the N stands for nighttime, only because I have smoked my old cannabis, and I barely make it through a joint, and it really does help me fall asleep, such as a really high end, indica. So there might be something to it.
I'm going to have to try it. I've never tried it. I've never heard of it until you told me earlier today.
Yeah, so it's really great that they're doing studies on this, so everybody will know that their old cannabis is not actually worthless. Like, it really does have a lot of value. There's not enough clinical evidence for melatonin helping with insomnia. The sleep regulating hormone melatonin is one of the most popular supplements for sleeping, and in recent years, medical professionals have seen increasing numbers of pediatric patients take over-the-counter melatonin as a sleeping aid. According to an article published in the American Medical Association, melatonin can have negative side effects if overused, such as headache, fatigue, dizziness, or daytime sleepiness, or even more severe consequences such as increased blood pressure and heart rate. I've also been told that if you take melatonin too much, your body will stop making it naturally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, some experts say that despite its popularity, melatonin needs more clinical research to prove its efficacy and may not be suitable for everyone. However, there is not enough evidence that melatonin helps with chronic insomnia, and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends avoiding melatonin to treat it. Melatonin sales in the U.S. in 2020 reached 821 million, which is double that of 2017 when sales totaled 339 million, according to a review by Statista. CBN and CBG increasing their popularity as sleeping and relaxation supplements.
Yeah, cannabinoid, or CBN, has been gaining popularity for its non-psychoactive medical properties, as some plant and rodent research has determined that cannabinoid to be antibacterial, neuroprotective, and anti-inflammatory, among other benefits. However, there's not enough research to pursue its efficacy. Cannabigerol, or CBG, has been the last rare cannabinoid that has attracted some eyes in the cannabis industry. Recent patient surveys on the use of CBG have shown people use the cannabinoid to deal with anxiety, chronic pain, depression, and insomnia.
The scarce CBG research in mice has shown that it could be effective as a treatment supplement for inflammatory bowel disease and in combating Huntington disease, but further studies are needed. And there's a great graph, pretty explanatory on it.
Beautiful graph.
Danileo releases Canada's first Delta 8 and CBG soft chews. On Wednesday, Danileo Incorporated announced the release of its soft chews under the Sun Shower brand, which are among the first Delta 8 and CBG products in Canada to be sold in the regulated market. Its Dynathrive Pro Asian Pear, wow, that's a big name, CBG 1-to-1 soft chew will be available in Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia in September, followed by Ontario in November. But not us. We don't get it.
Oh, no. But I'm going to be in BC for Iboga in October. I might have to see if I can get my hands on some while I'm there.
Yes, pear
some
soft
CBG chews. Yeah.
The
soft. Sorry, go ahead.
The soft chews Sun Shower Delta 8 Solar Punch will be available in packs of 10 with 10 milligrams of Delta 8 and 1 milligram of THC per piece.
Interesting. Other licensed producers in Canada, such as Reefer, which is owned by Tilray Brands, have released products with CBN, such as a Soleil Renew Moonlight Vape, which the company suggests to turn the lights low and enjoy the moonlight. They must have hired a hippie. God bless them. Last month, Reefer released its CBN Night Oil, which is supposed to help improve the duration and quality of sleep. The 50 milligram bottle contains 30 milligrams of CBN and 10 milligrams of THC per milliliter, and is composed of a broad spectrum cannabis distillate. Peace Naturals Project, which is owned by Coronas Group, released its Spinach Feels Blackberry Kush CBN, containing a blend of THC and CBN. It's really hard to read through all of those little bits that's on there, that are in the parentheses. Anyway.
Toronto-based Medifarm Labs Corp sells the White Crossed Appalachia Hybrid, which is a high CBG, high CBD, hybrid vape cartridge. That's pretty cool.
Really? Yeah.
Metapharm Laser Labs Corp. That's it. Okay. Some American companies such as Wana Optimals by Wana Brands have released gummies said to make a person fall asleep quickly and include a combination of cannabinoids and melatonin. Wow. The Wana Optimals Fast Sleep Gummies were released in September last year and contain CBD, CBN, CBG, THC, and melatonin.
Wow.
I wonder if these are all good together. The studies aren't there.
I don't know. The only thing I really don't like in that is melatonin. I everything I hear about it is not necessarily great. So
I don't know a lot about it except for what we've just read in these stories here.
Yeah.
The Denver-based cannabis producer Charlotte's Web Holdings released Charlotte's Web Calm and sleep sprays with CBG and CBN aimed to support a healthy sleep cycle. And Curaleaf Holdings. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's interesting. It's Denver-based. Because I'm really curious to try a lot. I've tried some CBN, but CBG is completely foreign to me, right? So, I
have not tried either.
I was just going to say that it's too bad that they're Denver based because that one kind of has both of them.
Yeah. Or it's Charlotte's Web and sleep spray, so it's two of them. Yeah. One with CBG and one with CBN. That's pretty cool. I'd like to try either one. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm going to have to read some more stories.
Yeah.
Curaleaf Holdings Incorporated has released a product line of edibles and topical gels targeting the health and wellness market. This July, the company released its Plant Precision product line, which will include gummy edibles with customizable doses of THC and other cannabinoids such as CBD, CBG, CBN, and THCV. The edibles are aimed to suit different parts of the day, including winding down, sleeping, or starting the day with a buzz.
THCV.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what THCV is.
It came up in a story before, but I just don't have the memory to tell you. I can't remember.
That's exactly. Okay. Yeah, but really interesting. Sleep aid technology and wearables gaining popularity. While supplements and pharmaceuticals are the most popular options to deal with sleeping issues, other companies are tackling the issue using wearables and technology via micro vibrations, according to a market study by the research firm.
Wow.
Delva's Night. That's as close as I can get. The sleep device market. The sleep device market is estimated to reach a 15.67% compound annually growth rate during 22 to 27. Companies such as Montreal-based Happy Technologies launched a neckband that uses its patented ultra-low radio frequencies biostreaming platform that delivers low-power electromagnetic signals that help with sleep as well as productivity, recovering, and relaxing at downtime.
Other wearables include Happy Ring by Happy Health, which intends to improve sleep and accurately measure an individual's stress levels and mood all day. The ring will be exclusively available in the United States and has received US $60 million in funding for the debut of the new product from ARCH Venture Partners, an investor with offices in the US and Dublin, Ireland. Pittsburgh-based startup Apollo Neuroscience, Inc. Created a wearable worn on the wrist or ankle, said to improve the body's resilience and response to stress. The aim of the wearable is to make a person sleep, relax, focus, recover, and generally feel better.
Interesting. So there you go. You can these wearables. That sounds pretty interesting. I've always used sounds, right? I always have some sort of sound going, but have always combined it with cannabis as well because I find cannabis, using it properly, high indicas or old cannabis for this CBN, really help the sleep, and they go very well with the listenables, I guess. But I never thought of a wearable.
I don't have a problem going to sleep. I have a problem staying asleep. I'm up at 3 o'clock, 3:30, whatever it is, every single morning. And it's been that way for 30 years. So I would like to sleep till 8 o'clock in the morning. Just one day. I would love that. Without going to bed at 3. I go to bed at a normal time and wake up at 8 would be glorious to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Maybe the CBN and the CBG will help you.
I'm going to find out.
Maybe. We are going to head back over to, pardon me, MJ Biz Daily for our last story before the break. Top CBD companies experience market share drop as online sales soften.
And the market share of the top 20 CBD companies shrank 2 percentage points in the quarter two from the previous quarter as softening e-commerce sales caused declines for some larger players. And there's two huge graphs here, pretty self-explanatory. The largest CBD companies in the U.S. experienced declining market share in the second quarter as the return of in-person shopping triggered a decline in e-commerce sales. Market share for revenue for the top 20 CBD brands shrank 2 percentage points to 16% versus the first quarter of the year, according to the Chicago-based cannabis analytics firm Brightfield Group. That is the small share for the sector in the past 4 quarters. The brand share overall CBD sales peaked in the fourth quarter of 2021 at 18.9%.
Bethany Gomez, Brightfield's managing director, said the declining market share reflects a broader trend in the direct-to-consumer category, with consumers returning to stores after having shopped online following the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020. There's still a very strong percentage of consumers that are buying online, but people are ready to explore a little bit more, Gomez says. They're going out to stores, they're going out to farmers markets, they're going out to all these things of independent retailers, all these kinds of independent retailers that are starting to now pick up a larger percentage of share. The shift has allowed smaller CBD companies to increase their share of overall sales to 71% in the second quarter, up from 67% in the first.
How often is it we hear smaller companies doing better than the bigger ones?
Not often, and it's beautiful.
I like this story. In addition, independent pharmacies that previously were a strong revenue source for CBD brands have also returned, having earlier focused their attention on COVID-19 testing and vaccinations. The 1-2 combination is spurring large CBD companies to possibly pivot back to brick and mortar sales after having shifted large parts of their operation to online sales as pandemic-long lockdowns stalled in-person shopping. Charlotte's Web, which Brightfield ranks number 1 among CBD brands, reported that its direct-to-consumer online sales decreased 15.3%, or 2.4 million, to 13.3 million in the second quarter from a year earlier as fewer people visited the Colorado company's e-commerce website. That said, Charlotte's Web still leads online CBD sales with 2.7% of the market in the second quarter. It's also ranked 3rd in brick and mortar sales, according to Brightfield, with a 1.9% in that sector. When it comes to CBD, online selling remains the dominant distribution channel, accounting for 39.2% of overall sales.
Wow. Pharmacies follow with a 19.5 share, while CBD specialty retailers mark up 10.7%. Overall, the CBD market rankings are stable at the top. Movement by revenue remained largely unchanged among the top 20 brands compared to the first quarter, except for the addition of Flora Growth. The cannabis cultivator and product manufacturer now ranks 6th, following its acquisition of Just CBD brand in early 2022 for $16 million plus privately issued shares. Gomez believes their continued strength of sales at independent retail outlets will stave off any consolidation the industry might have expected.
And there's not just any big forces pushing the aspects forward. So we're just continuing to see all of these tiny little players operate in small areas of the country through small independent channels now, with few of them really being able to scale up further, she said. Sales of the prescription drug Epidiolex, a highly purified CBD oil used to treat rare forms of epilepsy, continues to claim a significant portion of the U.S. CBD market. Tracked separately from consumer CBD by Brightfield, the drug accounted for 13% of the total U.S. CBD market by revenue, a decline from 15% share in the first quarter. But overall sales are up.
Yeah, also available in the United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, Spain, and soon France. Global net sales of Epiolex, known as Epidiolex outside the U.S., increased 12% to $175.3 million in the second quarter on a pro forma basis versus the same period in 2021. Jazz Pharmaceuticals, which acquired the cannabis drug maker GW Pharmaceutical last year, said the increase in sales was due to higher sales volumes and price increases in 2021 and 2022.
Interesting. I love how the small guys are actually holding their own.
Yeah, it's nice to see for sure.
At least
and
now.
I think we're gonna find that more and more and more as we go along, just because these small guys really are the gray market main guys from before, and they're the ones that I think are in it for the patients more so than for the money.
Yes, you could be right on that.
Yeah. Yep. But with that, we have our 5 stories in, and it means it's medication time, which means we're going to hear from our sponsors. Glenn and I will be right back after the break. You're watching the Reefer Reporters, and we are live here on Pace Radio Network YouTube channel and our Facebook pages.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Pace Radio Network, by patients, for patients, and for those who want to know.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
Hi folks, Scott from stpattiesday.com here, and we're absolutely stoked to tell you about our brand new program called Pass the Peace Pipe and our partnership with Legacy 420 out of Tyne-Nenega. We are absolutely proud to be partners with these people. They are an amazing group that have helped so many people with their amazing cannabis medicinal products. And we are working together to gather funds to build the first ever Indigenous-specific opioid addiction center here in the Bay of Quinte area on Tyne-Negan land. So we need your help. We need you to repost this video and go to our GoFundMe campaign, because on this October 17th, St. Fatty's Day, we are going to be starting the campaign where we pass the peace pipe from one side of the country to another to unite our country, to gather awareness, but most importantly funds to build opioid addiction centers across the nation, one build at a time.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And we're back from our medication session. We are the Reefer Reporters. If you miss our live shows, don't forget they are available afterwards as a podcast at our website, reeferreporters.com, plus paceradio.net. Hi, Glenn.
Hello.
We're back.
We're back. And nobody's in my house now.
Nobody's in your house. Yay.
Nobody's in my house. Just me.
Yeah, I have the host to myself again. Yay. We're gonna head over to our next story. We're heading down to the United States. Coming to us from MSN, California bill to allow vets, that's veterinarians, to recommend cannabis for pets, heads to governor's desk.
California veterinarians will be allowed to start recommending cannabis products for animal patients under a bill that awaits a signature from Governor Gavin Newsom. And Newsom is one who will sign this bill, authorized by Assembly Member Ash Kalara, AB 1885, prevents disciplinary action by the state's veterinary medical board for pet doctors who recommend cannabis for potential therapeutic or health supplement uses. And why would there be disciplinary action for that when they know there's therapeutic uses for this?
Absolutely.
Like in the first place, I don't understand why there would be any actions against people.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was absolutely agreeing with you is all I was doing.
Yeah. The measure, which was okayed by the state Senate on Monday, also requires the state's veterinary medical board to set guidelines for veterinarians to follow in recommending use of cannabis products. While the experience of many veterinarians and anecdotal reports from pet owners support a variety of therapeutic applications of cannabis for animal use, because of the lack of clear authorization under existing law, many pet owners are currently engaging. There's something missing right here. Currently engaging without recommendations or guidance from their veterinarians, according to a fact sheet on the legislation.
Jen Seo, Director Marketing and Partnership of Nabis LLC, a cannabis distributor in California, said the bill will open up opportunities for more businesses to explore the pet category. It's definitely another market that needs to be tapped into, CEO told MarketWatch. There hasn't been a lot of medical research, but it's been effective for pets from personal experience. I can see why people have concerns about it because of the lack of research, but when you get credible veterinarians and doctors advocating for it and supporting it, it further legitimizes the use of cannabis for pets. The passage of AB 1885 comes after the AB 2215 bill in 2018, which allowed veterinarians to discuss the use of cannabis in animals, but the older measure was less clear on preventing potential disciplinary action for recommending cannabis.
So you could discuss it, but you couldn't recommend it. That's really nice.
Yeah.
AB 1885 legislation has drawn support from a newly formed advocacy group, Pet Cannabis Coalition. The group is led by its president, Tim Shue, which is also founder and CEO of Vet CBD Incorporated, a cannabis therapy company. Up until AB 1885, many veterinary professionals chose to err on the side of caution and forgo discussion of cannabis use on pets altogether, Shue said in a statement. The legislation comes after Cornell University researchers in 2018 found that a CBD-based product was safe and efficacious for pain in dogs and arthritis in geriatric patients, among other studies. Nearly 8 million households in California own pets, according to data from the American Veterinary Medical Association, and the American Pet Products Association estimated Americans spent about $110 billion on their pets in 2021 and $104 billion in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of money in animals.
Absolutely, there's a lot of money in animals. I like the fancy word that they put in there for effective.
Yeah, efficacy. Is that it?
I think it was. Yeah, it was a little. It's something like that, or but I mean, effective. In other words, it was effective for their pain and their arthritis.
I think they write. Doctors write for their peers. They don't write for us low-level people that can't understand that jargon.
Us regular folks. What?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've been feeding CBD to my pets for a while now, and I know so many people who do, and I think it helps greatly.
I used high THC oil on a Maltese dog that we had years ago. She had very, very severe arthritis, and it worked wonders in her, absolute wonders. You had to really, really be careful with the dose, but she was running around like a little baby after we gave it to her every single time.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a beautiful medication for any being that has an endocannabinoid system, and our pets definitely do. Absolutely. On to the next one, which is my favorite one. I love this publication, The Fresh Toast. Here's how many cannabis licenses New York will initially award.
The Office of Cannabis Management announced how many cannabis licenses they would reward, revealing how many dispensaries will likely open per borough. New York's regulators are a few short months away from launching legal cannabis sales. Over the past year, responsible parties have been preparing laws and setting the stage just for this moment. On Thursday, the Office of Cannabis Management released a regional breakdown of possible dispensaries showing just how many licenses would be awarded per region.
Wow. The OCM will award up to 150 licenses across 14 regions in the state. Big boroughs like Manhattan and Brooklyn have more licenses and thus are likely to have more dispensaries. The region, well, of course, they've got more people too. The region with the most room for licenses is Manhattan, with 22 of them, closely following are Long Island and Brooklyn with 20 and 19 licenses, respectively. Other highly populated areas like Queens and the Bronx follow closely behind with 16 and 10 licenses each.
I did notice that these licenses, the richer the area is, the more licenses they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the more money that's there.
That's right.
Yeah, the OCM is currently gearing up to provide CAURD licenses to applicants, which are the ones provided to people who've been justice involved. The CAURD stands for Conditional Adult Use Retail Dispensaries and will be the first licenses to be provided to the public, benefiting those who've struggled the most due to penalization of cannabis.
And the CAURD licenses are positioned to make New York's first legal cannabis sales before the end of 2022, speeding the delivery of investments into communities across New York State that were impacted by the disproportionate enforcement of cannabis prohibition. I know Manhattan was disproportionately affected by prohibition. The application process is supposed to be simple and cheap, requiring no outside help from lawyers or other parties. The primary goal of the CAURD license is to create opportunities for New Yorkers harmed most by the prohibition of cannabis. OCM spokesperson Aaron Gittleman told the Marijuana Moment. Part of it is granting up to 150 CAURD licenses to individuals who themselves or their close family members have had past eligible cannabis-related offenses and have ownership stakes in profitable businesses. New York will start accepting dispensary applications on August 25th with the goal of having these businesses up and running by the end of the year.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's awesome. And I love that what they're doing is they're saying, okay, well, you were wrongly imprisoned for cannabis. You have a chance above this business guy over here. And
I'm just wondering, does he have a chance to own one of those Manhattan dispensaries? Or does he have one of the chance of owning one of the dispensaries in the Bronx? Because there's a huge difference.
They have a chance of owning a dispensary where they live.
Which is none of them live in Manhattan, or unless they're already millionaires and they have a conviction. That's what's going to happen.
Some of them could, but I mean, the fact that they are in all of the boroughs, what they're going to do is they're going to award these licenses first, and they're going to make them uniform across. So, I mean, yes, I do believe that some of these people are going to end up with dispensaries in the higher end places, just because.
I hope you're right.
They're going to try to make them uniform, and they're going to give out the licenses to the people who have suffered before they give out the licenses to the business guy, right? I think that you're going to see some of these folks having dispensaries in these higher end, what are they? There's just higher income areas than
I think I'm just very, very skeptical about human behavior and the way we wind up doing things, because it's almost always to profit ourselves, not other people. And I'm worried that a multi-millionaire stockbroker with a conviction for possession is going to have a dispensary in Manhattan, where the guy who was growing cannabis to help patients in the Bronx is going to wind up with a dispensary in the Bronx. That's what's going to happen.
Well, if they have been hurt, and there is, I think we actually read the story on New York here a few weeks ago. I think it was us, about how they were, there are certain qualifications to meet for those special licenses. Like, you have to be severely impacted, not just caught with a few grams.
Yeah. Okay. I hope you're right. I really, really hope you're right.
So fingers crossed. And it's just something that, as the Reefer reporters, we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on and report on going forward, just to see how it all comes down. But fingers crossed, they're showing that they're doing this, and I hope that they're doing it and doing it well.
I have difficulty believing humans, especially politics.
I completely understand, but it's something we'll keep an eye on going forward for sure. We're going to head over now to Ganjapanor, and we're going to take a look at one of the studies for today. Cannabis consumers had better clinical outcomes for COVID-19 than non-consumers.
And activist cannabis consumers fared better against COVID-19 than non-consumers, according to the preliminary research published this month by the Journal of Cannabis Research. A preliminary study published this month in the Journal of Cannabis Research suggests that active cannabis consumers diagnosed with COVID-19 had better clinical outcomes than non-cannabis consumers, including the decreased need for ICU admission or mechanical ventilation. However, the researchers warn that the study results need to be interpreted with caution, given the limitations of retrospective analysis. The study included 2 hospitals in the Los Angeles, California area. Out of 1,831 COVID patients in the study, just 69 patients reported active cannabis use, which was 4% of the total patients.
Yeah, active cannabis consumers were also younger, less often diabetic, and more frequently active tobacco smokers.
Wow.
The cannabis consuming cohort was found to have a lower level of inflammatory markers upon hospital admission than non-consumers. I have to say that, there were reports of this early on in the whole COVID pandemic, and one of our dispensary owners here in Nova Scotia, matter of fact, it was, it's a gray market dispensary, and our first Compassion Club that we had here in Nova Scotia. The owner of that, he was giving away CBD to anybody who was testing positive to help fight their symptoms and fight the disease. And he had, was giving, he had marked down the CBD for a while to help people be able to get a hold of it and get it into their system to hopefully ward off the COVID virus as well. So I thought that was an amazing thing that he did. And there were only preliminary studies at the time. But knock on wood, when I did have COVID, but it was very, very minor for me. And I, watched other people that I know that don't consume cannabis and they had a hard time with it, and was it the cannabis that saved me or was I just lucky? I'm not sure. But
maybe it's part of both,
Maybe it is, a 50-50 thing. The cannabis consumers in this study were younger, 62% of them male, 38% of them female, 48% were white, 15 were black, 4 were Asian, and 28% were Latinx. 20% of cannabis consumers also smoke tobacco. Well, that's not too bad. That's only 1/5 compared to just 4% of overall patients.
That's funny because I don't know too many cannabis consumers that smoke tobacco. I really don't.
I know a lot of cannabis consumers that smoke tobacco.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just don't hang out with smokers, I guess. It's not often I know anybody who smokes.
Yeah, no, I do. If they don't smoke cigarettes, they're large vapors, so they still get their nicotine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Consistent with known trends, active cannabis users were overall younger than non-users, the author said. However, when adjusting for age, these outcomes remain consistent. The study was conducted by research at the David Geffen School of Medicine at the University of California Department of Medicine Statistics Core, the Division of Infectious Diseases, and the Division of Pulmonary and Critical Care Medicine.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I think that kind of just supports what we were learning at the beginning of the pandemic that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, so shout out to that amazing Compassion Club owner here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I had never heard that story before, and I would like to know the name of that Compassion Club. Is it still around?
Pharmacists. It absolutely is. In Halifax, Nova Scotia, pharmacists. Wow. Yeah, I will definitely scream that from the rafters. It's a great Compassion Club helping patients of all walks of life. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. Heading over again, back to my favorite one, the fresh toast. I have to come back here and click add to stream first. Getting a call, Glenn.
Yeah, that's the Hyundai dealer.
Oh, the Hyundai dealer? Right on.
Yeah.
We're heading back to the fresh toast. Cannabinoids, THC, and CBD beat opiates in managing chronic pain. Oh, I can attest to that.
Okay. Are cannabis-derived cannabinoid the ultimate panacea to the opiate crisis? A new study that was published recently in Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research has made interesting revelations on the safety and effectiveness of cannabinoids versus opioids in the treating of chronic pain. From the study, it emerged that cannabinoids, THC and CBD, have a greater benefit safety profile compared to opioids used to manage chronic and neuropathic pain. Neuropathic pain, simply known as nerve pain, is termed chronic when it persists for more than 3 months. The pain is usually sharp and burning and is likely to be debilitating. The causes vary and include diabetes and cystitis, among others. Traditional treatment of neuropathic pain includes the use of anticonvulsants, antidepressants, and opioids.
I apologize. I get people messaging me, and even though I don't have like Facebook open, it still dings in my ear, and it takes away from me sometimes. Today, obviously, is one of those days. Yeah. So, I mean, neuropathic pain, it comes from more than just those two things as well. I mean, I've got fibromyalgia and lupus, and I've got some nerve damage. So, there are more things besides diabetes and cystis that cause nerve pain, and it's a terrible, terrible, terrible pain. And cannabis helps greatly. The study was conducted by a team of pain specialists and psychiatrists, patient representatives, and scientists. 12 different pharmacological treatments, including THC and CBD, were considered for the study. The researchers sought to compare the safety and benefits of the drug compounds. The researchers created a model to score the performance of each drug in terms of safety and clinical benefits. Combination of THC and CBD in a ratio of 1:1 had the highest score, 79. CBD dominant treatment followed with a score of 74. THC dominant came with 72. Gabapentin, these are terrible drugs, and duloxetine in the 60s, and amitriptyline, tramadol, and ibuprofen scored in the 50s. Methadone, oxycodone in the 40s. Morphine and fentanyl in the 30s.
Wow, I'm surprised morphine's so far down. An analysis of the results showed that the THC and CBD combination provided significantly higher safety benefits, so much so that even if the pain rate reduction and quality of life score was halved, it would not change the result. What does this mean? When THC and CBD are combined in equal ratios, they provide a safer and more effective treatment for neuropathic pain compared to the traditional treatments. While the combination had a score of 79, opioids had a score that ranged between 30s and 60s. This supports previous research that suggests cannabinoids can help with the opioid epidemic crisis that's ravaging millions in its wake.
Yeah.
We've heard this for years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I have been on the pharmaceuticals. I've been addicted to the pharmaceuticals, and cannabis helped get me off of them. I've been clean for almost 8 years off those, and they're terrible drugs to be addicted to, and they're terrible drugs to try to get off of. And, I'm glad that cannabis has been deemed legal now, and I'm excited for the day that it is prescribed more than these other drugs. And these other drugs are only used for, maybe surgeries or something, and only used very short term in the hospital and not prescribed. Yeah.
How about when the benefits plan starts paying for it?
Yeah, won't that be exciting? That's been a fight that I've been involved in Nova Scotia for about 7 years now, and it hasn't gone very far. But one of these days, we will have it covered. There's only one insurance company that covers it here, and I try to get it covered for patients who are disabled. So Pharmacare would cover it, from Nova Scotia, and they've been fighting me the whole way.
Of course, they don't want to pay for anything new.
No, but all we can do is fight, and someday, we'll win. Look at how we've come so far already. So we'll get there. It's just a matter of when and how.
Yep.
Yeah. But hey, guess what time it is? Oh, that is such a good tune.
I love that.
We are heading over to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Here, we are going to read how advocates lobby for psychedelic drugs to address veteran suicide in Missouri.
And Jefferson City, lawmakers seeking to address a suicide crisis among Missouri military veterans heard Wednesday from several advocates who said psychedelic drugs could provide an answer. Among them was Dr. Raul Kapur, a Kansas City doctor, who said Missouri could consider making plant-based drugs like psilocybin mushrooms legal for the treatment of mental disorders. So far, the safety data has been very encouraging, Kapur told members of the House Interim Committee on Veterans, Mental Health, and Suicide. The panel is meeting against the backdrop of Missouri leading the nation in veteran suicides. In 2021, for example, 146 veterans died by suicide. I'm assuming that's in Missouri?
Yeah. According to the U.S., in one state.
Wow.
Like, I mean, we have an average in the United States of 22 suicides a day.
Wow.
Just on veterans. Just for military combat veterans, 22 people a day take their lives because they can't deal with their brain anymore.
Insane. So let's wait for years and years and years before we do anything.
Yeah. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, Missouri's veteran suicide rate was 43.4 per 100,000 in 2019. Nationally, the rate is 31.6 per 100,000. Only 7 states had a higher rate of veteran suicide than Missouri in 2019. Overall, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in Missouri, claiming 1,230 lives in 2020, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Committee Chairman Dave Griffith, who's a Republican from Jefferson City, said previous discussions about legalizing psilocybin have not been well received in a Republican-controlled legislature. Many of us have preconceived notion of what that is, Griffith said. Kapur agreed, but said studies show the drug helps people who have post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is common among war veterans. We need to work to remove the stigma of these things, Kapur said. Representative Mike Stevens, who's a Republican from Bolivar, said a hearing in the spring to discuss legislation that would legalize the drug raised more questions than answers.
It did not go well, Stevens said, but Stevens said attitudes may be changing. I do expect we will be revisiting the subject. In addition to Kapur, Will Wisner, executive director of the Grunt Style Foundation, said he was deeply affected by his combat experience. He said his dreams at night were vivid and traumatic. I dreaded going to sleep, he said. He was skeptical of using an alternative medicine, but said it worked. What I found was nothing less than miraculous. Under a proposal sponsored by Representative Tony Lavasco, from a Republican from O'Fallon, people with approved conditions could use certain plant or fungi-based psychedelics.
The measure, which could be reintroduced in January, identifies patients with treatment-resistant post-traumatic stress disorder or depression, or who have a terminal illness as eligible recipients. People with other conditions should petition the Department of Health and Senior Services to expand the list. What about people with just simple depression that aren't in the Army? Is this for them too?
Well, they did state here treatment-resistant post-traumatic stress disorder, so that would include everybody.
Okay. Oregon passed a similar measure in 2020 and is the only state to have legalized some psychedelics for therapeutic use. Several cities and Washington, D.C. have decriminalized various psychedelic drugs. Yeah, which is fantastic. I'm glad that they're at least decriminalizing the psychedelic drugs. They should decriminalize everything and take the shame and the stigma away from it. It's slow, but it's moving that way.
It is, yeah. Elaine Brewer, a military spouse from Chesterfield, said psychedelic therapy through plant medicine is the most effective treatment for PTSD. We deserve the right to try any and all options, Brewer told the committee. The hearing was marked by a series of organizations that outlined how they are attempting to address the high suicide rate among veterans. There is something deeply wrong with this epidemic that we are watching, said Kevin Weaver, president of the Warrior's Journey, a Springfield-based advocacy group for military veterans. Nicole Pingle, a clinical therapist with the Virginia-based Ohana Homefront Foundation, said the organization wants to help veterans in crisis by reducing the stigma associated with mental health problems.
She said the military doesn't do enough to prepare soldiers for their return from war. In addition to opening a bricks and mortar counseling facility, Pingle said the group plans to train people to help veterans in need.
I guess that's the end of the story. I thought we had more.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, it seemed to me that we should be going on to more, but that seems to be the end of the story. I think, I really hope that they win the ability to be able to treat their veterans and other people that are affected with PTSD.
I think there's absolutely no doubt that they will win the war. The question is, what year will they win the war? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how long is it going to take? Well, for me, that was kind of an emotional story. I'm really glad to hear that people are fighting not just for our veterans, but for everybody to be able to take psychedelics. Like, I mean, they have changed my life and helped me fight PTSD. Like nothing else has ever helped in my entire life. So I, for one, know just from being there what they can do to help somebody with hard mental injuries.
Well, you are a veteran and you have experienced it, so it's coming right from your mouth. It must be true.
Yeah, it is so true. It's beautiful. And with that, that's it. That's our 10 stories. So that's our Reefer Reporters for today, September 1st, 2022. I am caught up in my bracelet. And from the Legacy420.com news desk, and in closing, weed, I pointed the right way. I'd like to say thank you for watching, and thank you to our sponsors, BMA Hydroponics, Dr. Buck CTS, Legacy 420, and the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop in Campbellford. And Glenn and I will see all of you next Thursday. Me from on the road somewhere in Quebec.
Wow.
Have a great week.
Oh yeah, baby. That's lovely.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.